Welcome to AI Everywhere Leaders podcast, where we explore real-world applications of artificial intelligence and their impact on business leadership. I'm your host, Adriana, and today we're diving deep into digital transformation leadership with someone who's been at the forefront of cloud and AI innovation across multiple industries. Joining us today, it's Annariina, who brings a wealth of experience from her roles spanning Amazon Web Services to her current position as Executive Vice President of Strategic Alliance Management at Palantic. With her background leading AWS practices in Germany, serving as President of the Board of Directors for Rights Tech Women and driving digital transformation initiatives across the whole Europe, Annariina offers a unique insight into how AI is reshaping business operations today and also leadership approaches. Welcome to the show, Annariina.
Okay, so thank you, Adriana. This was a great intro, a little bit too much in my opinion, but I had a long journey. My journey actually started back in 93 when I started my studies at the Helsinki University and the computer science. And I was one of the two girls in a classroom or a lecture room of 300 people. So effectively representing 50% of the female studied population. I hope that the things have changed for the new students who are starting this fall all around the world in their studies. But my tech career didn't actually start there. I went to Luxembourg originally to work for the European Parliament. Then I was working for an investment bank. Then I was working for the Cisco Systems in Amsterdam in Netherlands. I went to Canon Europe, where I was responsible for personal items like cameras and faxes and stuff like that. From there, I went to a fintech, so more into a tech role, moved to Frankfurt, Germany, started at Reuters, back in then Reuters, now Reuters Thomson. Then I was working for the US government as an analyst and went from there to the German Stock Exchange, where I was working at the area of government bond trading. So all the railroads and roads and stuff like that, which needs to be financed by the companies or countries, they are being financed with the government, of course, and that trading has been done in German Stock Exchange. And from there, I went through another fintech to AWS. Now we actually land at Corona times, 2020. I started my career at AWS, where I was running the professional services teams in regulated industries, being financial services industry, or utility, and life and pharma. I did that for a while and moved into AWS EMEA Business Development and Innovation Organization, where I led experience-based acceleration, which is a method which accelerates or speeds up the cloud adoption for different companies or governments or such. And from there, I actually went to the partner side, so still helping the AWS customers, but from the other side of the table. And now my role is entailing strategic alliances. So now we come to the 2025. So I'm Executive Vice President, Strategic Alliance Management, very long title, exactly like my name, which looks like a cat ran over a keyboard. So I am originally from Finland with a Croatian last name. I live in Salzburg, Austria with my family. And alliances is a lot about partnerships and relationship management. And that's really how I feel that I can bring my contribution to the world and help people and customers to adopt, do their business better, faster, and innovate faster.
Excellent. Thank you. From your extensive experience in digital transformation, I mean, obviously you worked on multiple projects, industries, applications. What do you see has changed? What has evolved in the last years? When we're looking at digital transformation and particularly on the integration of AI technologies?
So first of all, the attitude towards tech has changed. It's no longer the IT problem or IT topic or a difficult thing. It's actually an enabler of the business and the business strategy. It used to be the case that the business thought that, this is I want to sell to my customers and I need to have a system, and dear IT, please get me a system and install it, and I want to use it, and that's it. And these days, it's much more enabler of the business and how different systems, different functionalities, the different topics can be fast tracked, can be automated, can be reduced risk, can be done much more faster. So with the rise of AI, we know how fast things have moved in the past year and a half. It's mind boggling. So what I feel is that, and what I see is that there's much more openness for one. There's much more interest to learn new technologies, and not just by the younger generations who are using the TikToks and all that jazz very quickly and learning new features and adopting the tech very quickly. It's also the business people and the non-tech people who are looking into these things like, how can I do my job better, faster, and really make sure that I leverage to the best of my capabilities the technologies which help me to do my job faster and better. And because of that, there's a much more, how would I put it? The adoption of the technology has always been more about people and processes and change. And now it's more, we're getting into emerge and augmented systems instead of just people clicking on the mouse and using the systems, but really leveraging on the technologies.
Excellent. From your perspective, leading teams not only in Germany but also internationally, do you notice any different approaches to digital transformation across different markets or industries?
Yeah, obviously, well, if we start with different industries, yes, regulated industries are typically, well, as they say, regulated. So they have to be cautious. They are being monitored by the authorities. They have rules which they can't break. So for them, it's more cumbersome to adapt those technologies. Having said that, it's not impossible completely. That's that. There are some industries which are more natural to adoption of the technologies like such as AI, such as retail. We all know Amazon, Amazon.com, recommendation systems, or fashion, trying new things, or even industries where you automate the different kind of processes, automotive where there are robotics being run, or digital twins. So those are being more faster adopted, I would say. When it comes to the countries and regions, Nordics have been leading the pack normally, as well as Asia, as well as US as well. Obviously, clouds being born more in the US has been on the forefront. There's a lot of startups in the US and a lot of also support from the governments. In the EU, it has been a bit slower, I would say, because of the regulations and because of the fragmentation. It is changing, but it has been also the availability of a different kind of digital networks and internet and so on and so forth. It's also about the adoption of that. Which leads. And accessibility is also a topic. So obviously, if you are more in the Western, wealthier part of the world, you have more access to these technologies rather than if you're in a third world countries. This is also changing, and it's also democratizing in a sense that you do not have to go to the elite university anymore, but you can actually access into the education of these new technologies through internet as long as you have a device. So things are definitely changing, and it's more a level playing field.
Many organizations talk about digital transformation, but we know that also implementation can be really challenging. What do you see as the most important critical success factors when an organization starts to have a comprehensive, let's call it, digital transformation?
First of all, it starts with leadership. You have to have an executive sponsor with a bold statement, which is also being communicated. And then it needs to trickle down into the organization. Typically, the adoption of the technology, the challenges are never in the tech. The tech is relatively easy. It's always about max 30% of the project. It's always about the people, processes, and change, which are the sort of the problems or challenges what the companies have. So you might have a C-level who comes and like, hey, we want to be all in the cloud. And then you have a typical challenge, which is people working in silos where different kind of teams within the same organization, they actually have opposing goals. Prime example, security and product. So security guys are go like, you guys are security risk. You're just like way too reckless, and we're going to have a threat and attack. And at the same time, the same organization, the product guys are going like, security, you guys are too uptight, and we can't go faster to the market. So even if they're in the same organization, and at the end of the line, there's the one bottom line and there's one number at the end of the year, and they both are working for the same organization. They have completely opposite goals. So this is basically one of the topics. There's also something like the vision is not communicated. The business is not talking to IT, or they're not working together, and IT is not talking to business. There's a lack of skills. There's a lack of capacity. There's complex landscapes, lots and lots and lots of systems. Things have been added on top. There's no integration. And these kind of all sort of non-technical topics are usually the bigger challenge in these kind of digital transformation projects than the actual tech.
Excellent. You gave me lots of other questions.
Oh, okay.
So this is a theme I'm particularly interested in, the environment and how AI is changing the whole environment, both in terms of impact and also potential for positive environmental solutions. From your work with various organizations, what successful AI applications have you witnessed that particularly stood out to you?
AI can be actually, and the technology can be used in quite a lot of different ways. You obviously have large language models and different kind of impacts. If we talk about really like hardwiring and hardware of the AI, obviously uses a lot of compute power. So let's get that off the track. AI is super power hungry, and the carbon footprint is real. But if you have the right kind of architecture and you're using serverless, for example, and you do efficient training, you're doing right architectures which are being smartly implemented, and you actually are using and benefiting the cloud pay as you go, scale up and scale down, and you don't let those large workloads run all the time, then we can definitely reduce the impact. So that's that. Also, if we're doing a standardization topic, then the different companies are still tracking that kind of a thing. There's still check out the ESG modeling. You can still make good choices with regards to your footprint, and also track that as a part of the KPI and help to be in a sustainable way, use green energy and cooling and stuff like that in the data warehouses. So that will also help help. When it comes to then really on the environmental impact, there you can have different kind of effects. Like NVIDIA has models where wind farms are being impacted, and so which area would be great to put a wind farm in, or how are the waves impacting the ecosystem. You can use satellite data to monitor, for example, the seas and oceans, how the temperatures are moving, so that you can actually act accordingly. You can even use the satellite technologies on Earth movements. For example, if you have like railroad tracks and you have the tracks on the ground, and satellite data is being used for climate research, and it can be even very accurately looking at whether the Earth has moved to a couple of centimeters here or there, whether you would need to do something or change something. Or deforestation or something like that.
Let's turn to something I really appreciate you for, your leadership skills. I was always impressed by your leadership human approach. And I wanted to know, based on your experience in so many executive roles and also board positions, what would you recommend leaders who are maybe trying to navigate the digital transformation, the AI, and maybe they don't have a technical background?
Well, I personally tend to learn by doing and trying things out. Having said that, usually these kind of folks who are in the boardrooms and with the C levels or the bosses, they are usually busy, so they don't have the time to try out new ththings. There are a lot of resources available, and there's a lot of sort of hacks. There's a lot of quick start guides. There's a lot of people who are actually staying on top of the topics all the times. For example, even if I'm in the business, right, and there are so many changes all the time, all everywhere, that it's impossible be on the top of the game every time. So I tend to follow on LinkedIn a few people um, who are actually producing this kind of a content and bringing sort of the snippets and the latest summaries, so to say, and keeping up on the news on that. So I do use LinkedIn for that purpose. And then on top of that, you can't, learn it all. So ask for advice and ask really the people what kind of options there are. But on the other hand, the technology is always the technology, right? So people are in the business by doing their business, and there's always the tech component, but there's also the human component, and the humans are always adopting the technology in a different way. So you would have to see like what fits you, what fits your team, be open about it, and really try to upskill yourself and dedicate some time, like 10 minutes a day, read new stuff, try to be on the top of the game in order to stay where the new changes are, what could help you. And always is like going back to the tech is tech, but it doesn't solve the people and processes and change. So it's always like, what are you trying to do? Do you have a certain challenge that you're trying to solve? Do you have some sort of business outcome that you're trying to achieve? And really work backwards on what are the kind of the things that you could do to help to remove that pain or achieve that gain. Tech should be always linked to business outcomes. I would recommend not to do hop on the cool Gen AI train just because everybody's doing Gen AI and now I want to try it as well. You end up being, opening your wallet and having a real big cost for some sort of projects which are bringing nothing. But if you actually try those lighthouses and establish those lighthouses and you link that on your business outcomes in your purpose and what you're trying to achieve, because everybody's trying to do something at their work or in their role or in their team or in their organization. So what it is actually that you're trying to do, what are the outcomes that you're trying to achieve, and really use the tech for that.
That's really great advice. Focus on the outcomes. How do you think leaders, again, non-technical leaders, let's put it like that, how do you think non-technical leaders should think about risk management when it comes to AI initiatives?
Well,
It's a tough question.
that's a big topic. Risk management. Yeah. So you have different kind of risks, right? You have the business risk, you have a technological risk, you have a financial risk, you have a security risk, you have people risk. So it depends on which kind of topic or which angle you're talking about. You shouldn't just take everything for face value. You should establish guidelines. So you should definitely, security is the job number 0, right? It should be secure. You do not want to expose your company and your company secrets and your company data and your customer data to everywhere. So you need to have secure systems in place. You also do want to make sure that you do not expose to a financial risk because AI is consuming a lot of resources. And back in the days, my team, when I was at AWS, we actually got a call from AWS technical folks and said like, "Hey, are you sure that this customer wants to run this workload?" And they had racked up about 50K bill already in a week, right? So
Wow.
if you
In a
leave
week.
those resources running, you can rack up a bill. So please, everybody who is listening to this now, make sure that you put your billing, if you're an individual, the first thing what you do in any console or whatever, put your billing guidelines and stops there so that you don't accidentally bankrupt
Taking note
yourself.
of that. I'm taking a note of that.
Because this is something that, you know, it goes to the fact that, you know, you do not need a Lamborghini to go around the corner to the bakery and kindergarten to take the
Yeah.
kids to school. You can use a Fiat Punto or a bike, right? Obviously, Lamborghini is nice and it's very fancy, but it's also very expensive. So you can just use, I don't know, Fiat Cinquecento to do it, you know? It's the same thing. 4 wheels, moves ahead, brings the kids to the school. Maybe the kids would like the Lambo better, but, you know, you don't need to do that if it's unnecessary.
What, from your experience in strategic partnerships, what role should strategic partnerships play in an organization and digital transformation strategy?
It plays really a big thing because it's no longer about a customer and the technology. It's more like a power three, powerful, power five. So what I mean by that is that you have a customer. My team and my organization, Valantic, we're helping the customer to implement those solutions wherever they want to do it. So if they want to use a hyperscaler like AWS, or if they want to use Microsoft, or if they want to use Google, you know, we work with all these cloud providers. We work also with folks like from NVIDIA, from Snowflake, from Databricks, and so on and so forth. There's also the cybersecurity companies. So there's also the, you know, the CRM systems and the HR systems and like SAPs and stuff like that. So when it comes down to is that it's no longer this bilateral connecting the dots. It's not even putting the puzzle together. It's really these days thinking multifaceted and putting the 3D puzzle together. Taking, for example, a large retail customer who wants to do large language models and use AI in their operations. So you might need to have chips from the compute power from NVIDIA and their amazing systems and digital twins and stuff like that. Having said that, because you know, we have seen the announcements from Jensen that the chips are going to the US and Saudi Arabia is building this new thing. You might not get the chips right now. So you might, where you get them is actually on the hyperscaler. So you might want to go to then, let's say, to AWS and get those NVIDIA chips from, you know, then use the large language models there. Then that you get the immediate access. But you still need to secure your environment. So you need the ISVs, the cybersecurity solutions, and you might have the supply chain and logistics and the whole background running on SAP. So you're having that retail customer working together with the NVIDIA solutions on AWS, securing with, say, Palo Alto or SentinelOne or something like that, and using SAP to manage the customer flow. So how do we actually work there as a glue to implement that and take you know, have this orchestration between all of these different organizations. So that's how it looks like these days, and it's very much important to have same kind of alignment, same kind of you're solving still the customer problems, and you're solving that together with all these different players.
Looking at change management specifically, what have you found to be the most effective approach for driving organization adoption for AI technologies?
It comes to still about going backwards to the topic what we talked about before. So at AWS, I was leading this method called experience-based acceleration, which is a 3-day hackathon where we actually do migrate the workloads into cloud, or we break down the monolith into microservices and put them in a serverless or containers, or we build modern data platforms, or we industrialize industrialize AI ML models or build the Gen AI solution. So it's boiling down still to my original statement that it's never really about the tech. It's always about the people, processes, and change. So you need to have that exec sponsor with a strong vision and communicating that. Then you have the builders on the bottom who are partially, they need to understand the vision of how their work is, how they are contributing to this vision. And then, there's the managers who are putting all this team together, and you have the people working still in silos. So you need to have that one team approach marching towards one goal. And when you do this approach, it's like magic is happening. And I know I sound like a American TV pastor preaching to the congregation, but I really believe that this is the thing that if you are putting cross-functional teams together and you empower them to really do the stuff, and you have a clear scope and you manage that really well, you put those cross-functional teams, you give them the ability to make the decisions, and you have all the stakeholders in the room who are able to make the decisions right then and there. And you do not root around tickets and stuff like that. And you start doing the work, and you don't know what you don't know before you actually start doing the work. And especially this is true, especially in regulated industries where there's a very little the risk appetite, so to say, for good reason. But still, they want to analyze, and they have this analysis paralysis until the end. And before they have done the whole analysis of the project, things have changed, and some things are already obsolete. So you don't know what you don't know before you actually start doing. And there's a quote from Andy Jassy saying there's no compression compression algorithm for experience, and you need to really roll up the sleeves and start doing things. And when you start doing those tasks and really working backwards, what is the problem that we're trying to achieve? Where is the pain? What are all the things that we need to do in order to remove that pain and reach that goal? And who are all the people we need to have in this room? And then you start doing things. That is where all the risks, dependencies, and blockers come surface. All of a sudden, hey, we didn't think about this. Oh, okay, we need to address that. And then all of a sudden you had your project plan, and you have all those tasks and all those Jira tickets maybe pre-populated, but all of a sudden there's all these things popping up on the side, and you keep on adding things. And where the EBAs are different is like we actually encourage people to say like, hey, here's a problem, here's a risk and dependency, because normally problems, nobody wants to have a problem, right? I'm actually in the business of finding problems and finding good problems and really solving those puzzles. And it's about ownership. And it's not, by ownership, I do not mean doing that yourself. It's like, okay, I saw this problem or challenge or risk or dependency or blocker, and I'm owning it. And I'm just looking at who are all the things, again, what we need to remove this blocker, to work on it, and what do we need to do to remove it? Who do we need to have it? And this guy is the giving the answer to that. Then because of that, we can move forward. Now we have another question, and we need input from somebody else. If somebody else is giving that input straight away. And because of this velocity of question and answer, and instead of routing tickets and acting as a problem is a hot potato, but really like, okay, we go here left. That didn't work. Then we go right. Oh, that worked. And then you move forward. That's the way to go forward. And once you have that experience that you have learned the mental muscle, and you have learned how to solve blockers, how to move things forward, how to take ownership, and really make fast decisions. If you have one lighthouse and if you communicate about it, everybody wants to be in a winning team. And people are like, what? You did it, what, in 3 days? You migrated 10 applications into cloud within three days and did a cutover? How did you do it? I want this for my team as well. And then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So long story short, you really have to have those lighthouses, establish them quickly, communicate about them, and make a lighthouse, and then it will attract more, and then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
You mentioned You mentioned the hackathons. I've been starting this newsletter for more than 3 months now. It has nearly 1,000 followers. And
Wow,
the best
awesome.
performing, yeah, just on LinkedIn, the best performing edition was not about marketing, AI, strategic marketing, planning, events. No, the best performing ever so far was the edition about hackathons. I had so many senior marketing managers reaching out to me, telling me, wow, this helped me a lot because I want to run a hackathon in 4 weeks. I'm running this hackathon in 2 weeks. I was like, if you run it in 2 weeks, it's not a hackathon. If you're doing it in 2 weeks, and
It,
that's not
it's a
a hackathon.
project. It's a workshop.
Yeah, it's a day, it's a tech day, let's call it. It's a tech day. So yeah, I do think we need more hackathons in our life. And
Yeah,
I like the
let
story
me
with
put it
the
this way. I mean, like this is a real world example. So I was
Mhm.
at the customer and we were doing this 3-day hackathon and we were trying to modernize.
That's a hackathon. For our
Yes.
listeners, 3 day, that's a hackathon. 1 day, it's not a hackathon.
Yeah, it's like, when we start, then people don't know how it really works. And it is like getting a train from the platform. So you don't really know. And there's all these people. And these people, mind you, they have been sometimes working together for 25 years. And they have never realized what their own impact is to the other colleague. And they've been working
Wow.
together. And they're like, oh, I never actually thought that if I don't answer you straight away on this question that you would actually be waiting, and if I would actually just like bounce it around, and you know how tickets go, like this guy is on a holiday, this is not my topic, I'm rooting to somebody else, and that is rooting somebody else and somebody else, and then eventually you get some sort of mundane answer which is actually not answering your question, and then you're still trying to solve the problem. So in this case, there's no tickets and nothing opening. It's literally like you're sitting across the table and you're answering these questions. And this is crucial, that the people who have the knowledge, who have the know-how, and who are able to and empowered to make those decisions are right then and there, because that is adding to the acceleration and the velocity. So in this situation, we were modernizing this workload, and we literally had in it with huge conference rooms. We had a couple of tables together, and those folks actually brought their displays. And I was like, okay, this display and keyboard and everything. Okay, we're setting up here a war room. Okay, let's go. And the one guy who was coding, and we were sort of helping we were looking over the shoulder and sort of giving guidance, like, okay, try this, try that, and I would do this, that kind of stuff. And then he gets stuck with security permissions. And the guy who was responsible for the security permissions was sitting across the table. And he's like, okay, well, try this. Well, it doesn't work. Try that. Doesn't work. That doesn't work. And they went back and forth about this about 14 times. And then it worked. And it
Wow.
was like, oh, cool. And then the guy was happily coding onwards. And I was like, hey, stop. So just let's just think about it for 5 minutes. In normal circumstances, what would happen? I mean, like, you would be in the office and you would be doing this, and you would be at home and you would be coding. And would you open a ticket, send an email? And how long
It
would
will be
this 14
probably weeks or months. Weeks or months.
14,
It will
yeah,
take.
14 times back and forth, right? 14, 1 4. And I asked them how long it would take for them to solve this topic and move forward. And they were like, about 4 months. And I was like, yeah, 4 months compressed in 4 minutes. And then they go like, the lamp goes on. It's like, oh, this is actually how you can actually work. And basically, the next day when they came, like in the morning, we were having a cup of coffee and getting started again. I was like, yeah. And I was thinking last night, like, why don't we actually work like this, like all the time? And this is
Yeah.
like really cool, and we're moving forward, and we're just like we're going like warp speed. So anybody who's like on Star Wars and Enterprise, Star warp speed. This is the kind of quantum leap that they were doing. And after the 3 days, they kept on doing it. They literally sat first on a biweekly basis and then on a monthly basis together, and they were just like sitting together and doing their stuff, and it became a business as usual. And then after a couple of months, they were like, ping me out of the blue saying like, hey, wow, happy to report we have now completed the whole customer facing solutions and they're now running in the cloud and we can switch off on-prem and yay, thanks.
I think it transforms the teams differently. It's not just about the technical capabilities and working together.
Yes.
It's also a team building. They
Yes.
also gain that
And
experience of working together.
Yes. And that
And then
it's
during,
literally, and that's why it's called experience-based acceleration, because it's not because I say so or AWS says
yeah.
so or somebody else training says so. It's because learning by doing, and they experience it themselves, and they all of a sudden, things move really, really fast where you actually didn't think that they could move so fast. And everyone's like, wow, okay.
And it's also a team building. It's more than just the experience itself. It's actually getting people to have a team building, to know each other.
Yes.
Because during the pandemic, there was something that happened for everyone, not only for technical people or for the tech industry. I feel like our brains got sort of erased. That's my dog. I don't know if you see.
Oh,
She heard the noise. Hello, you. I think during the pandemic, the collective memory sort of erased, and there are humanly things that we just forgot how to do at some extent. So yeah, I'm happy to hear this experience, because I don't know if it's because we shared that experience with AWS. It's just some things work. And the project you were leading worked effectively really well. I got a chance to participate in one of the experiences, and it was for a couple of days, and I was just super impressed. It was something I would like to attend every week, So engaging, hearing the ideas, seeing how the information flows, and also how people work together. It's quite
yeah.
important.
And that's exactly the thing, that it's you have typically in these hackathons you have different work streams. So you have to think about it as like uninterrupted focus time hackathon over 3 days. Then you have several work streams and they are sort of different kind of teams. So you have like 3, 4, 5, 6 teams. They're all sitting in the same room. Because of that, you have a lot of cross pollination. So you might have, because and you're absolutely right about the COVID times and everybody being at home and working on Teams or Zoom or whatever. If you're working with a screen, you always have one person who can talk and you observe things, and then you don't see what the other people are doing. And it's very, I would say, one way thing. But if you're in the room, we all have, or most of us have, eyes and ears. And you can observe the room, you can read the room, you can hear what the people are talking or eavesdropping. And in many cases, there were actually, folks who are sitting on the next table or next group of table, and they were like, oh, there's some keyword or a program word or what the organization is doing, and that it sort of wakens the attention, and they're like, oh, what are you guys talking about? Well, actually, we have already solved that problem. And we already have here a solution. Try that. And they're like, oh, I didn't know about it. Really? There you go. And it's a cross pollination, and it's about, again, people, processes, and change and communication. You bring those folks into the room, and as I said, it's like getting that train off the platform. Like, first you don't know what you're doing, and it's really awkward, and you need to have a cup of coffee, and that's why I usually make a lot of jokes and bring a lot of candy, because in sugar we trust. In the afternoon, we all need that sort of like a kick into the brain, because normally you're not so focused on doing things. And this is the hackathons are honestly super strenuous as well, because you are just so focused on things and you're thinking continuously, and that makes you absolutely tired. But so think about a large train, and it's in a platform, and you get all the people on board, and then you put the engine on, and it starts to go, like, start to move, 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 move. And the first day is like, getting off the platform, and the second day is like, okay, so we come here and it's sort of know how it works, and you start to do things, and then you go like, oh, we're actually moving. We're moving really, really fast. And then you have the third day, and then you have it, and then people do not want to get off the bullet train. And because it is exactly that, They are now getting things done. They're seeing the results faster than ever, but they have never thought it before. So the builders are like, by builders, I do not mean builders who are building the houses. I meaning the folks who are doing coding or doing stuff on the keyboard or building, designing human resources processes or communication plans or financial models or whatever it is that they need to do, because you would always have to have business and IT in this context. So it gets the folks totally ignited and really passionate about things.
Excellent. For the marketing people that are listening, I know there are many senior marketing managers watching this podcast. What skills do you think, from your perspective, they should be developing I wouldn't even say when it comes to AI, but more like in the era, let's say, in this era we are living, what skills you think marketing professionals should be developing to remain relevant?
Well, obviously, first prompt engineering, because it's crap in, crap out. AI can hallucinate a lot. You need to know how to talk to the machine or your model. You need to also prompt, and you need to tell the AI what it is. And so you need to first tell them what they are as a person or a role. Like, you're the world's best marketing person or marketing executive or a copywriter. You write the best stories. You are very friendly. You're using language. You're using the statistics. You have won awards and stuff like that. And then AI knows how to react. And you also need to say, like, okay, do not hallucinate. Do not invent stuff. Do not take or invent resources. And then you get the good results. Second is that you should always have responsible AI, so AI ethics, and you should be always aware of your customer data protection, and security. You should always have that awareness at the back end of the head, and not take the easy way out, like, hey, let me just upload this and just like analyze the heck out of this document and then produce the coolest whatever. So do not expose data into the AI what you wouldn't show it to other people. Also, customer journey analytics, that's super important. So there's always human in the AI, and the human insights should drive the AI output. So what I saw, for example, a very good use case, and this was in the commercial context. So how the director of the movie director, because now you can produce movies and the quality of the images and
Yeah,
personas, it's like amazing, right? So how he was actually using the AI is that, okay, he was testing different colors on the persona who was then, this was actually a cookie commercial, this Jaffa cakes, where there's
yeah,
the
yeah.
marmalade and stuff like that. So the idea is that this lady, woman, eats the cake, and then because of the cake enters into the woods, and there's oranges and sun, and it's a forest full of oranges, and she's getting like all this nice experience, and then it goes back to the cookie thing. So they actually tested the color of the outfit. They tested the lighting, like where is the optimal position of the sun, how should the workflow go, what kind of trees and stuff like that they would have to have, and they built the storyboard on it. And because of that, and they were able to iterate the different kind of tests or different kind of optimal combinations for that particular commercial. And then they were filming it in the real life. And of course, the actors brought it into life. You can't have AI doing Oscar-worthy, at least yet, performances. So he was saying that the AI really helped him to iterate and test different topics. So
Test
you can, that's
test his vision.
yeah.
Yeah, test his.
Yeah. So basically, it meant that because he was doing faster, he didn't need to build and move the different kind in the studio, different kind of stuff. So he could actually go straight to the end setup, meaning You have less cost for studio. You have faster iterations. It's more effective. You're using less time. You're saving costs. You're getting a bigger bang for the buck.
Excellent. I will send you the video, the short video I created with the help of AI, just by prompting a really long prompt, and it gave me a video for a hackathon I want to do, but it looked exactly as what I was imagining. So based on that, now I have a 20 seconds video that I can actually show my potential customers just by understanding how to prompt.
Awesome.
I also wanted to ask you a bit more about the work I know you have been actively doing officially and unofficially, with a job title or without a job title. And I feel like you constantly show up for women, and I feel like you truly are playing a very important role in the industry.
Yeah. It derives from I've always been like minority, and or the only woman in the room. That's where it comes from, and I just want to change it for other people, the other, the younger generation, or other folks, or my daughters. I have like 3 daughters. They're now 17 or
Congratulations.
16, 17, and well, she's actually turning 18 next week, 19.
Wow.
So I don't want them to experience the stuff that I have gone through. And if I can save, and if I can help other people to avoid those things, and if I can make things happen, and it's always like, it gets really lonely, and then you're always I wouldn't say quota chip. I've never thought myself as a quota chick, because I've gotten here on my work merits, but it's really tough for the younger women and girls to think that they can go into career in tech if they don't see any women,
Yeah,
and that's what really drives me, and that's why I want to enable the girls and women to think like, hey, I can do it. I can definitely do it, and I can try it. And as a hiring manager, I was at AWS. I was a hire manager, and you have the 8 qualifications that I must have for a role, and then you have 5 that are maybe nice to have, and the guys are going like, hey, I have 5 or 4 of the must haves and none of that nice have. Of course I can do it. Yeah, of course I can do it. And the women are going like, I tick all the boxes on the must haves, and I have, from the 5 of nice haves, I have 4. I'm not good enough. Would never be hired. Therefore, I don't want to even apply. And this is really the dilemma, right? And because we don't have the representation in those roles, coding, there's like gazillion other roles like yours. Marketing is also in tech. There's also legal and finance in tech, and there's people, and it's always about people. Companies are not machines. Companies are people. So I just want to make sure that we have that representation, and we have more women, and we give that room, and we actually are then mentoring, and not just mentoring, but also sponsoring, because that is the key.
that's important. Yeah, you hit the nail with that one. That's really important. And there is also the opportunity in tech. As you said, I mean, my journey was not linear. I started with computer science. I was quite geeky, but I also enjoyed not only studying sciences, but foreign languages. I loved reading as a teenager. When I was your daughter's age, I was reading, but I also like to organize parties for my friends. All the parties, I was the organizer. So when it came to what to do next for university, pick I couldn't be decisive what I would like to do. And I decided to go to computer science. And everybody, Annariina, including my teachers, which were female teachers. Well, we're talking about early 2000, right?
Uh,
And I told them I'm going to computer science. The reaction was bad. I can't even give everybody was against it. Even
my God.
family friends, they were teachers at the University of Computer Science, and their advice was, don't do that. You're going to ruin your life. And I still did it. I still did it against
God.
all odds. But out of my classroom, I was the only one that actually entered the university in Bucharest. The exam back then was quite brutal. You had to be really, really good to actually enter. And I ended up like yourself. I was one of 5 girls within 1,300 boys.
Yeah.
1,300 boys. And we're talking about 2002, right?
Yeah.
And after that, all the teachers, female teachers that I had, they came to congratulate my parents. I was like, okay, I don't get it, but there was no support, and I hated seeing that. And after that,
Mm,
starting to work in tech, I decided to do something else besides marketing. I've done sales, marketing, then business development, partnerships. Then I came back to marketing
mm,
simply because you need to know how to do automations. You need to
yeah.
understand the technology to do the text, to organize experiences, as you very well described with the hackathons. If you don't understand the tech, I feel like you're not truly doing marketing. I feel like it's important, and it became even more important now to actually understand the technology and the tools. But yeah, it doesn't matter if you like coding or not. You can be a woman in tech without coding. I'm a living proof of that. Although if I open some C++ now, I can still read it and I get it. But there are many, many, many things in tech, as you well said. Even PR, communications and PR. That's a
Tech,
department
tech is everywhere. It is
where, yeah,
everywhere. It's in the classrooms. You know, these days, you know, small kids use tech.
yeah,
And as you say, it's like, you know, you don't need to be a mechanic fixing the car engine to drive well and be the race driver. But you should understand how the gears work, where do you put the lights on, where the brake is, where the handbrake is. That would help
for sure.
sometimes. And also where the gas is that you actually can floor it, right? And how the wheel works and stuff like that. So it is important to be up to date on the tech. And as I said, it helps to understand what it's actually, even maybe if you would take even more helicopter view, learning and being really curious and being really trying to learn new stuff. I try to learn new stuff every day. And I'm usually, you know, I have my team, and those guys are like really brilliant techies. And I'm just like feeling every time like, oh, I'm the dumbest person in the room. And I'm asking stupid questions, but I just want to know, like, how does it work? You know, I don't need to necessarily do it. I don't necessarily need to code it, but it's like, how do you use it? What is it for? How can I solve my problems by using and leveraging from technologies? And how do I build those ecosystems of partnerships and folks and teams, the cross-functional teams that can, you know, do this? And this diversity is also very important, because imagine you have a company or you have a team. Everybody has coming from the same background, same town, same everybody is at the same economic level. They went to the same school. They went to the same university. They go to same sports clubs or whatever. And then they're trying to do innovation. So they are all taught to be thinking alike, acting alike, talking alike, wearing the same kind of type of clothes. And they are the same kind of groups. So imagine this other thing that you have a younger woman, you have an older man, you have like really like, and this is also ageism is a thing, right? That people beyond 50, I am, but beyond 50 is like, this is a real thing that these folks are really afraid of being obsolete and being replaced by AI. So how do you stay relevant and resilient in this time and age? And if you have different nationalities, it's proven fact that if you are talking in different languages, your brain works different. Like, I come from Finland, so nobody speaks Finnish, so I had to learn quite a little new languages, and I was always the new kid around the block. So it was up to me to adapt to my environment, and this is basically started when I was a kid. I went to school in Sweden, and I didn't understand a word. I was like, what the heck, you know? But you learn really quick because of that. It's I was perfection. It's about progress. You should not procrastinate, but just start doing and start learning and, you know, experiment. And it's okay to fail. I mean, you know, so what? I fail all the time. I make mistakes all the time, but it
Everybody.
doesn't matter that,
Yeah.
I learn from them and then I do things differently. And next time I'm getting better and better and better and better, and then it's faster and more efficient. All of a sudden you're a pro. It's like, you know, kid sees a Tour de France, right, on the telly, and they're like, "Hey, I want to be wearing that yellow vest," right? And then they go outside and they have their tricycle, and you are the parent. Like, okay, they got on the bike and they fall, and then you have to let the kids fall. You have to have them, get the
Yeah.
knee scarred or whatever, and a bit of a crying, and then the point is, and you get back on the bike, and then all of a sudden you take the one support wheel off and the other one, and then you take the first wobbly rounds of, hey, look, I'm riding a bike, and it's like, yeah, and then they get better and better, and then they start to bike around the block, and then longer and longer, and then they get into sports mode, and then they start to going down the racetrack, and voila. And after a couple of years, so you're wearing the yellow vest, but you have to start somewhere.
Yeah, and they start getting very good at it and actually enjoying it more and more, and they start getting their friends on board with them. Let's go biking together. I know what, yeah, unfortunately, what I see, and I'm a bit concerned about that. I don't have kids myself, but I have lots of nieces and nephews. I have, I think, 13 of them. So I keep thinking about that with technology and with them, and I see also their behavior, and they are struggling a bit with the social media. You know what's happening also now with AI, because as a teenager,
Yeah,
you don't have, I guess, those opportunities to actually go and learn from someone. I was thinking that
yeah,
if I would have started my career now, most likely I would never got into the work opportunities I got into at that time, because they are simply not available as they used to be, unless you are the lucky winner of an apprentice program in a large tech company. It makes
uh,
it a bit exclusive.
uh,
And yeah, what do you see in terms of opportunities for younger teenagers and younger women, let's say, to get into tech, or older as well, older women that maybe they want to change careers, maybe they want to take a
yeah,
different career path.
absolutely.
And I mean, we don't have to be ageist either, because there are right now in this lifetime we actually have the luxury. Me personally, I think it's a luxury to change gears, to
Yeah.
switch from one career to the other. You can have one, two, or even three different careers. I personally know a former colleague of mine from tech. He used to be a software architect, a brilliant one actually. When he turned 45, and he decided he wants to study medicine. And now he's 53 or 54, and he's a doctor finally. He still needs to do extra years, but
Awesome.
he just changed it. And like, anything is possible now, because our lifespan is much longer, isn't it? We are
Yeah.
quite blessed right now. The life expectancy is not 35 years anymore or 50 years.
Yes.
It's actually 90 or even more. So what would you recommend women at any age to do if they would like to get into tech?
Well, first of all, we need to have those women on the Tour de France wearing the yellow vests. We need to see them. We need more visible people, because it is about representation, right? If you don't see it, you can't imagine it. So that's the tech thing number one. We need to more talk about it. We need to have those people visible. We need to have presentations. We need to go into school. And back in the days when I was at AWS, there was a program called Get IT, and this Get IT program, I was the ambassador for Switzerland, and I was sponsoring a couple of schools. And how it works is that you go into, and this is basically the schools can apply for this program, and then we would be matched, and then there would be teams of 13 to 14 years old girls, or girls or boys mixes, but it should be more girls than boys, because we were trying to really um, inspire those kids to get into the tech. And what it is that you have sort of this introduction, and these are the different kind of roles, and a little bit of history of Ada Lovelace, and what kind of tech is there, what is tech being used for, that there's a lot of tech in the healthcare, there's a lot of tech in the cars, schools, education systems, building things. There's a lot of tech everywhere, and the teams were supposed to think of an idea for an app or a sort of a solution that either for their school or for the wider community, not for them, but for somebody else. And then, you would introduce the different kind of components, like, okay, this is how compute works. This is what the storage is. This is what machine learning does, and security. And then on the one hand, you would have the tech bit by bit in the children's own terms and very simplistic or more like that they would understand it better and not using jargon and stuff like that. But on the other hand, it's like, okay, there's a user and the user has a problem and you're trying to help that person to, with that problem. And what would this app do? What kind of features would it have, and so on and so forth. And you have that customer journey, and what does it look like, or what does it feel like, how does it get to be more interesting, what would it make interesting for the user to use it, why would they use it, actually use your solution, and how would you expand that on that idea. And in the end, you would have a mock-up of the different screens, and then you would do the presentation, and the presentation would be done to the jury. And my job was to really like to be as a sparring partner and give them guidance and give them tips and bring a bit like design thinking in there, and also about the teamwork. Because again, it's not just about the tech, it's about the team. And they were really learning to work together and listen to other people's opinions. And okay, so you have that idea. That idea is not good, but hey, maybe if we combine with that idea and that idea, then that would be a great idea. And they really learned how to work in an agile way and an iterative way. And in the end, long story short, my team won the Swiss national the competition. And I'm like super proud of that.
Amazing.
And they basically designed a app for charities and private people in term when there's a national disaster or something like that, that they can these charities can say, like Red Cross or whatever, says, hey, we need blankets here, or we need shoes or clothes or food or whatever, and then the people could answer to those. But also locally, like, okay, we have here a elderly person, and the elderly person needs to have somebody go and read to them, or take groceries, or take them out for a walk, or babysit, or something like that, that they would be matching. And also security aspect, that you wouldn't have somebody pretending to be a kid and then robbing the elderly. And how would you build a vouching and data protection and all that jazz? So those kind of things are super valuable on that perspective. But also, like, I was a president at Right Text Women organization, which is a non-governmental organization based in Switzerland, and it's actually it's an advisor for the ECOSOC of United Nations, and they are doing quite a lot of work on, for example, collaboration with CERN, so the atom research unit in and institution in Switzerland, and bringing in girls to see, like, okay, how can satellite data be used for climate research? But they also did, and then the kids would, try to, they would get up a mock-up data or something really data, and they would actually do stuff. They also went to a company where they had said, like, okay, you guys are manufacturing of computer parts, and there were people from finance and HR and marketing, and basically then using Titanic. So how do you, and this is the data set, and this is the boat, and this is the waves, and and teaching them how to basics of machine learning. And this what was a huge success for them. And it's like, okay, you can actually learn new stuff, and this would be the next step. And one of the things what I also did, what my dear friend Ursula Koski from AWS, she's the partner CTO at AWS in Nordics, and she's collaborating with this organization with Mimit Koda from Milja, and with Milja, and the Mimit Koda is Women Code. And what they did with the Finnish architects is that they did, so Finnish AWS architects, solution architects, were doing lectures like online. Then this was in the COVID times. So they were streaming online lectures like, okay, this topic is about security, this is about DevOps, this is about compute, and they would explain that, and then they would have a boot camp, and you could subscribe to that. And in the end, it would lead to a certification like cloud practitioner or solution architect associate, and that would be the preparatory thing. And that was a huge success. And they have been running with this for a couple of years. So what I did with that is like, oh, I want to establish that for the folks in Austria. So I started to look around, like where could I actually establish this program? And I found the Technical University of Vienna, and I basically pinged everybody there, like, hey, I have this idea and let's talk. In the end, and this was in the summertime, and I heard nothing back, and I was sending emails everywhere. And all of a sudden, I get out of the blue an email like, hey, I'm the professor of computer studies, and let's talk. And we had a call, and I explained what I wanted to do. Like we would have resources and folks from AWS who are the solution architects who know these things, that I want to enable the women to do practical things, because you can learn about theory, but unless you start building on AWS or on Google or Microsoft, before you start doing these things and building those projects, it's all, you know,
You need to be inspired. You need to see the art of the possible. What's possible to create with
exactly,
technology, to get excited and inspired and kind of
exactly,
prompted in a way to do more
exactly.
towards that. So yeah, I'm super impressed, honestly, with
So how do
everything
you
you.
actually enable yourself to use your skills and learn those skills, so that when you get out of the university, you already have better chances of employment,
Yeah.
you can negotiate better salary, you can have more options of getting employed. These are all the kind of practical skills what you need to have in addition to theory. So my job was to help those students to gain those skills, to build those projects so that they can have nicer lives and
Yeah,
cooler jobs
that's
and better salaries and have more women in tech.
super, super impressive. I'm inspired and impressed every time we talk. It's like you unveil more. You're like a blooming flower. I found out more and more about the amazing work you're doing. Yes, I think I got, you know, goosebumps. This is truly inspiring, and you're making truly a huge impact. I know someone told me that you're actually working on a book to change the topic a bit. Can you tell? Is it too early? Can you tell our listeners and myself? I'm curious as well to find out more. Can you tell us a bit more about the key themes you're exploring and also what made you want to write it?
Yes, I'm actually working on two books, because of this reason, because I want to inspire the kids. So one thing is I'm co-authoring both books with my dear friend Ursula Koski. So the kids book is called, well, I'm not sure if I can say it, but it's sort of a detective who has a robot sidekick, and they're solving mysteries together, and there's being introduced AI, different kind of topics like large language models, patterns, and hallucination and security topics for kids between 6 and 10 years old, in a
Wow, that's amazing.
very storytelling
Yeah.
a way, so that they learn the sort of basics of tech and get like inspired. So it's a detective storytelling thing. So that's coming in, and we are also going to produce then sort of materials around it, so that the kids can actually do activities around it, like recognize the patterns, or what would you do, what looks like and what doesn't look like, and for hallucination, is this a real thing or not, and having those kind of active things as well. But it's to introduce tech and AI, and also the dangers of that, because children do not understand the tech completely, and you do not want to upload your pictures maybe into internet to be there forever, and those kind of that you don't know necessarily who's behind the screen, that somebody can use AI to change your tone, voice, look different, and it can be a completely different person. So you should not get yourself into danger. So it's also on a sort of edutainment kind of thing. And from the other thing, book is, it's called, well, the working title is Resilience and Rise, A Life in Tech. And it's about leadership. It's about tech. Um, it's about how do you get from A to Z, and it's covering different kind of topics. It's a part of adventures. It has a components of a life story, like my personal experience and Ursula's personal experience, and then we link that to the technology or leadership, um, topic. So it's sort of almost like a hitchhiker's guide to tech, and that you don't need to be technologies to lead the digital change that you should actually have, and you would need to have the courage, and you need to have the curiosity, and you need to, how do you build great teams, and how do you deal with difficult situations in leadership positions and amongst tech. So exploring AI, resilience, empathy, and transformation.
Excellent. Do you know when the books are going to be? Do you have a date in mind when the books are going to be available for the public? I assume we'll be able to buy them on Amazon.com, right?
Yeah, so we're trying to get them out in Q4. So we'll see
Excellent.
how that works.
I will, whenever the book is out, the books are out, I'm going to buy them, and I expect a signed copy from you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the adult book, it's supposed to be sort of a snippets that is not like the story from, you can, because it's for busy people like myself. Like, I don't have necessarily time to sit down and gulp a book of 200 pages in one go.
Mhm.
And with all the things that are happening at work, I will forget, what I actually read like 2 hours ago. So it's really a book where you can read the different chapters as standalone, with checklists at the end of the chapter, actionable items where you can actually do stuff and try to implement on your own way. Maybe some of the things, it's not everybody is for everything, and not everything is for everybody. So you might take those nuggets here and there and say like, hey, maybe I'll try this. So it's, each chapter can be read as standalone. So it's like really like a
Okay.
for busy people.
Yeah, I like it. It's a good approach. So you don't have to wait for a holiday to actually read it.
No, and you can use you can start from the back. You can hop between the different chapters, and it's up to you when you read it and how you read it and in which sequence you read it. So up to you, up to
Amazing.
the reader.
Up to the reader. Love it. Love it. Marina, this has been an incredibly rich conversation. Always a pleasure seeing you. We covered everything from digital transformation strategy to environmental considerations to advancing women in tech and leadership. Your experience is truly impressive. As I mentioned before, I'm not going to repeat. I'm truly in awe for all the work you've been doing and all the inspiration you're driving, almost like the sun. Everywhere you go, you're inspiring people, and you're just the force
Thank you.
of nature. Before we wrap it up, can you tell our listeners where can they connect with you to follow also your upcoming book and see your work and what you're posting, maybe on LinkedIn, or what would be the best channel to reach out and follow?
I think that the easiest is exactly LinkedIn. I have a handle, linkedin.com slash Annariina, ANNARIINA. So that's where I will be posting most of the content because it's easier. We will be launching separate websites on for the books, and also probably more kids content on a separate platforms, but that's coming later. And Adriana, it's been really a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to talking to you, and thank you so much for inviting me. I love it. You are inspiration to me. Honestly, I'm a total fangirl.
You're very kind to say that. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope we get the chance to talk again soon. Probably in Q4 when the books are launched. I would be interested to actually reading even the kids' book. I think it's important to develop more materials for kids and make make that information easier to digest by them.
Yes. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
again.
You will definitely get the books, and I'll hand deliver them to you.
Please do that. I have a huge library with books. If a burglar comes to my garage, they might be very disappointed when they open it because it's filled with books, mainly. But anyhow, to our listeners, remember that successful digital transformation isn't about just implementing the latest technology. It's about the people. It's about building an organization with capabilities, ownerships, and leadership structures that enable sustainable innovation and
Yes.
growth. Don't forget to subscribe to AI Everywhere Leaders podcast on YouTube or Spotify and send me the topics you would like us to cover next.